What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stochastic here on the Odd Chapter channel, coming to you with another edition of Lindy's Leans. His likes, his locks. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. Goes a long way for me on this video, goes a long way for you. That way you become apprised whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. The little neck of the YouTube woods that started off with a little Joel Embiid W. My God. My God. Anybody watching these games, it is unbelievable what Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic are doing at the center position. Everybody wanted to talk about how basketball, Steph Curry, he's changed it forever. It's going to be, shooting it from 35, 40 out. No. There's a way to play basketball, and it's the way that Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic are doing it right now. Can't believe how spoiled we are to have both of them on the planet at the same time. And hey, Victor Wembanyama we have here on the planet as well, but not playing basketball here on Tuesday, which has kind of created a massive piece of value here early on. I think these numbers are going to change. So you want to bet this, just skip to that game here if you're listening to me right now, mainly because I have a lot to get to there. Only 4 games here on the slate, but that is by far the most appealing. In fact, I have a lean, like, and a lock from that game all individually. Let's party with it. Of course, I got producer Jacob down here, hanging out here yet again. He ended up going and watching his Vegas Golden Knights live their lives on Sunday night. How'd they do? Did they win? Yay? Yeah, they win. Okay, cool. These are good things. Good talk. I have nothing else to contribute to hockey. I have things to contribute here at OddsShopper and BetMGM. That's for sure. You can sign up for both of those down below. Talk about them here in a second. But 4 games, 1 game in particular that is really, really appealing. And hey, producer Jacob, he might have upgraded a pick to a certain extent, although I'm going to stick with a like here for this video on that one for sure. But, the Celtic homerism starting to show. Celtic pride. That was a good movie back in the day. It's got the guy from Home Alone. One of the sticky bandits. That's the Home Alone 2 name for them, because they're the wet bandits. Producer Jacob, let's get to the picks. Welcome back, Ja Morant. His 25-game suspension officially over. Did not play on Monday. Memphis, the only team on a back-to-back. And ironically enough, they returned their best player, a player that they have needed very, very badly, pretty much since the day that he ended up taking off here. It's Ja Morant back in action. I'm excited to see it. Hopefully, all things are well in his life, and we can talk about him playing basketball. That is all that I would like to do for the rest of his life. And also, there's going to be some amazing things that I think he and T, his dad, and a lot of guys are able to do in the aftermath of everything. So, anyway, enough about that. Let's talk about this spot here in particular. You get Ja Morant back. That's going to obviously cut into the usage of Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., There haven't been a lot of other guys out there, though, chucking the basketball. I mean, Jacob Killiard goes 3 for 3 in the first 3 minutes of that game against Oklahoma City here on Monday. Yeah, was watching that. Not great for the old DFS. But as I look at the board for tomorrow, I doubt we're going to get a whole lot of props that are going to open with like an advantageous, I'm going to take Desmond Bane overs here. I'm going to take Jared. They're going to look low from the get-go, but I guarantee you they're appropriate when you factor in what kind of minutes we're looking at for Ja Morant. I'm just going to plug him in for like 33 right out of the get-go, 32 unless we hear otherwise. I think there's room to play 36, 38 in a competitive spot, like on an outlier type situation. I think there's 28 as well, but we'll be paying attention to news here because those minutes obviously matter. Last season, he was one of the better basketball players in the association. You know that. I know that. We all know that. Cool. Great, grand, good. Oh, yeah, they're still missing Derrick Rose, still missing Marcus Smart. There's still a lot of guard depth that is gone. So Ja Morant, yeah, they're going to want him to play minutes here. It's not like he hasn't been conditioning, not like he hasn't been working out, getting ready to rock for this spot. He'll be the only one not on the back-to-back, though. Rest of his team's tired. We are looking, though, at the Pelicans. Do I feel like backing them here in this spot? I thought instantly in the back of my mind this would be an advantageous number, but with Ja back, I mean, this is probably more efficient than what it looked like from the get-go for me, for you, for everybody. And I think New Orleans, you know that this is a team that's continually getting healthier. Najee Marshall, the only guy on the injury report whatsoever. And as long as you have Zion not eating through a table, as Stephen A. Smith was saying, Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, Jonas Valanciunas. I love Trey Murphy III here on this program for sure as well. And Herb Jones, who really like the wing depth here for New Orleans. That creates a massive problem for Memphis because they don't have any wings that I like. And now they waived Kenny Lofton Jr. So sad times. Guy was a bucket in the summer league. Something Vegas just scoring baskets. We'll put it that way. Scoring the basketball. Anywho, -7. I don't have a lot to mine out here until we get props up on the board, and these look pretty efficient to me. I think the Ja Morant thing is just it could go one of two ways really, really quickly, but something tells me he looks a lot better than what I think -7, even though it's projecting out as the best play here. Don't think I want to be laying it, knowing that if it's 100% Ja, this would be a Memphis +7 insto play for me. Oh my God. Look at that spread. It is so big. I bet it's like one of those San Antonio Spurs guys spreads. Well, it is 16.5 going into Milwaukee because Victor Wembanyama is going to sit on Tuesday. Yep, already ruled out with right ankle soreness. That sounds like rest to me. Dressed up is not rest, but we're going to have that all season long, and it's just going to continue on and all the fuckery that we get every single night in the NBA. Hey, at least we get pop news early here, so that's cool. But it's the only guy on the injury report for San Antonio. Okay, interesting. Well, what exactly are we replacing with Victor Wembanyama? Well, first of all, he's averaging 30.5 minutes per game out of the 24 games that he has appeared in this season. 28.6% usage is 95th percentile in the NBA, so shoots the ball a lot. Defensively, plus 2.4 grading, 97th percentile, 99th percentile block rate at 8.6%. Now, the true shooting hasn't been that good, 52.9%. The three-point struggles have been a concern, 28.1%. But he's also a 7'4" dude who's now playing an NBA schedule, and there was always going to be some of these hiccups. We're going to take the good with the bad here for Victor Wembanyama because he's still 7'4" and will shoot step-back threes on a consistent basis here. Again, you got to adjust to the further back three-point line, too. It's the whole thing. But as I'm looking at this number, makes it a little bit short, but I want to start with what I'm just seeing from a usage perspective. And I've had a lot more points props on the board here of late because a lot of what I do the night before, it's market-based approach over on OddsShopper, taking a look at some of the best numbers that are listed. But I'm also going through previous box scores, and I'm sorting by previous numbers for some of these players. And when there is a massive guy with like 28, 29% usage that is missing out of a team, it brings everybody along for the ride. And then I start projecting out the minutes for everybody here. And I think the very key thing that you need to be paying attention to is that Victor Wembanyama has been playing the 5, the rebound rate has been out of control, and Zach Collins got taken off the floor. Now, his opening points prop number over at PointsBet and a couple of other books that aren't even things that you have access to in Arizona and Nevada and some of the places that are closer to me, I'm looking. It is one of those spots that I just am telling you, Zach Collins starts 12.5 as a smash. I think he ends up being the 5th starter considering the size that Milwaukee has in the front court between Giannis and between Brook Lopez. Other matchups, I don't think it's a requirement that Victor Wembanyama, although most of the time I would assume Zach Collins to just be playing those backup center minutes. Now, he's been playing high teens minutes. I think you instantly put him in for around 26, 28 minutes in this spot with upside for more. And at 12.5 points, you take his usage off the floor. Victor Wembanyama's. Zach Collins has a 21.3% usage rate this season. It's the highest of his NBA career. It's also the worst team he's been on in his NBA career, so let that be known. But I think there's actually some meat on the bone here. So we're going to break this down. I have a lean. Round 1, fight. Zach Collins. I'm looking at him from a usage perspective being undervalued, and this number being undervalued for the number of minutes that I am putting him at compared to what the books are. I have him closer to 15.5 points. I want to see him starting, though, because if he's not starting, you are completely screwed with this. If it's Sandro Mamukashvili or Champagne or whomever else they could end up throwing out there, and they want to just keep Zach Collins in this role and keep him on bubble wrap and try to trade him before the deadline, I think that is just fine. It makes sense to me. San Antonio is not concerned about winning games. They are concerned about development. And if Zach Collins is going to be too expensive for the future, or if he ends up being a serviceable piece that other people want, you probably don't want him playing 28, 30 minutes against the front court of Giannis and Brook Lopez, who can definitely inflict pain, suffering, and sadness upon somebody. So that is a wait-and-see approach here. I'm going to get a better sense of where I think sharp money is going in the morning, mainly because if Zach Collins is playing high teens minutes, well, I like the under, so it is what it is. Very volatile situation here. Massive minutes disparity between him starting and not starting, but none of this really matters for this play. Holy shit. I mean, 16.5 for Milwaukee. I've got this closer to 19.5. Now, I've always said this. It is so difficult to go about projecting this because what you have to do is you have to start projecting the 11th through 15th players in rotations, like the back of the bench guys. And it's not a fun exercise to go through. Do you want to know what my evening was tonight? I sat there and I said, how much does Devontae Graham play in a spot where they're losing by 35? Because he's a veteran player who's sitting on the back end of the bench. And then you're looking at David Duke Jr., you're looking at Barlow, you're looking at Sandro Mamukashvili. These are all guys that I make minutes projections for that I generally don't have to put anything next to their names. And then their rates have to be compared to Milwaukee's, and Milwaukee's 11 through 15 might be as bad as there is in the NBA. Wigginton, Bolden, Thanasis, Cameron Payne in the membrane, AJ Green. I mean, these names that I am looking at and that I put minutes next to are disturbing. But at the end of the day, if it gets to that point, you're probably looking at Milwaukee being up 20 plus. Can they keep it close here? I think because of how bad both of these sections are. I think Devontae Graham's the best player out of both closing tens. Like, that's the game script. That's the narrative. But putting him in for 6 minutes, 5 minutes, it's so hard to project these kind of things. But I do think that this number is still a little bit too low, and I bet it gets to 17.5 when it's all said and done. So half unit play on Milwaukee, 16.5. It's beautiful. Before we get to the lock, friends, I have a very important thing that I want to bring to you. It's Odd Shopper. It's fantastic, and it is the best deal around. $14.95 here for the week. It is a massive price decrease that we've taken off the top here. It used to be $20 just for the Discord. It is now $14.95 for the weekly, $49.95 for the monthly. So if you want to ask me questions, if you want to see exactly what I end up doing, not in just this spot with Zach Collins, but in the previous spot with New Orleans and Memphis here, if there's anything that stands out, you want my premium betting card every single day? Check this out now. Cool, great, grand. Oh, and when you do it, use promo code Lindy. Get yourself 20% off. That's beautiful. That's great. Let's get to that lock, shall we? Good. Let's do it. Yeah. Look at this. Here we are, friends. Talked about the usage now. Talked about a potential massive disparity between where the books open this number. It's kind of a middle number on Zach Collins because, again, starting, not starting, 15.5 or 9.5. I think he starts. I think you have to against Giannis and against the likelihood of Brook Lopez being down there and just you're not going to go small and try to up the variance with three-point shooting in a spot where you just can't stop anybody from getting a rebound if you don't have a big body thotty out there. So Zach Collins, I'm assuming that, but I'm going to just wait and see what happens in the morning. This one, I'm not waiting to see. It's my favorite play on the entire day. And let's take a walk down Devin Vassell Avenue, which is not a normal place to go. Last season, 24% usage, 38.7% three-point shooter. That was pretty decent stuff that we saw from him. He played 31 minutes a game. Lately, though, because just the team around him, they're worse. 23.2% usage, down ever so slightly, playing alongside of Victor Wembanyama, and then 29.5 minutes per game because they've started to bring in other guys, a Trey Jones, playing those backup minutes. Sohan's been starting at the point guard position, but mainly Malachi Branham. This isn't somebody you need to be that concerned about because he's the worst defender in the entire NBA. Negative 3.3 defensive adjustment rating. And that, friends, is as bad as it gets on dunks and threes. Literally the basement there. But he's been starting in some of these random spots, playing 30 minutes a night, a young player they're trying to develop. And that's the whole point of this whole thing. But you are now taking Victor Wembanyama, 29% usage off the floor, and assuming to put out Zach Collins there with that 23-ish% usage. Malachi Branham has no usage going his direction if he's going to play 30 minutes in these kind of spots. 33 and 30 the last two. That takes a little bit off the top of a Keldon Johnson, who I expect his usage to rebound as well. 27.3% last season, 20.5. But here's what happened with the books. They nuked the Keldon Johnson one a little bit higher, and I kind of disagree with that because I think Devin Vassell, 17.5 points. I have him at 22.4. That is borderline my favorite play that I've seen all season long, just from a projection standpoint. Now, there is minutes volatility anytime you're talking about a 16.5 point spread. So if this game gets to 30 in the middle of the third quarter, it is a far more efficient number. But anything inside of that 20-ish, 20, 50-ish% outcome, like that's kind of like what would take him off the floor here. I think you're looking at him out on the floor for 28 to 30 minutes, having the majority of usage alongside Keldon Johnson in this spot with no Victor Wembanyama. So, my friends, Devin Vassell, over 17.5 points, my favorite play of the day, my favorite play of the week, probably my favorite play of the month. Do with that what you will. Another bummer spot, Phoenix, Portland. Well, not another one, because the last one was a fantastic spot. This is a bummer spot. More of like, hey, we just had the game that we talked about, -7, Memphis. That's more of what I'm talking about, where there's no play there. I don't have a play from this because it's really hard to know what you're running into. Bradley Beal, going to be out for the foreseeable future now. 2 weeks, they said. 3 weeks, potentially, with a sprained ankle. I mean, the guy just freaking got back. And on the Portland side, we have a questionable Shaedon Sharpe. Shaedon Sharpe. Yeah, Malcolm Brogdon, Simons. These guys all make sense. They all are going to be getting a lot of usage, a lot of opportunity. Because Shaedon Sharpe, he's been playing a boatload of minutes now. It started to tone out 27, 32, 27 because you have Malcolm Brogdon now sharing the floor with Anthony Simons Theodore. That's a Chipmunks reference. That's where my brain goes late at night. Okay, cool. Anyway, Phoenix, I'm looking at their projected rotation. Nurkic has been going absolutely insane here, but the minutes haven't exactly taken a bolster up. He's just getting insane amount of rebounds every single night. You were still watching Devin Booker and Kevin Durant do everything for this offense. I was looking forward to shorting Beal pretty much every single time out. And hey, I feel bad that shorted his points prop against the Knicks. Gets hurt 5 minutes in, but did you know you still get to cash those tickets? Yeah, it is what it is. But in this spot, Shaedon Sharpe, here's the thing. The only points prop period that I was looking at whatsoever is Jeremy Grant, and it's actually looking pretty efficient. There's only 3 props that have dropped here as of right now, or 3 players with props that have dropped here, but one of them, my favorite of them, Anthony Simons over 32.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. If you get Sharpe out, I think at least the assist rate will take a little bit of a spike. 35, 36 minutes. He's the guy who got paid. He's the one that they're committed to long-term. They didn't pick him over Dame by any means because Dame was just getting paid infinity dollars as it was. 50 million seems funnier. But Simons, he's the future here of Portland. Unless somebody really wants to tangle with that contract in the coming years, he's going to be staying there. And as such, I'll just take him over the Malcolm Brogdon side. Those minutes aren't going to go anywhere. So a lot of theoreticals, a lot of question marks, more of a mucky spot that I just don't even want to deal with. So we'll see if anything better shows up here on Tuesday. As for right now, not my favorite. And my favorite deal going in the industry right now, BetMGM, friends. You sign up down at the video description box below. If you have legalized sports betting in your states, awesome, fantastic. You have DraftKings, you have FanDuel, you have everything else that you're looking for. Add BetMGM to the portfolio. It has a lot of advantageous lines. I'm using it nonstop there for a lot of player props that just are ever so slightly lower than they are at a lot of other books. Now, FanDuel has been the calling card here this season because they've just had the most advantageous. But from time to time, BetMGM, they're hanging out some weaker numbers. So I'm just saying, if you're in the premium Discord, if you're checking out the betting card I put out every single day, you'll see some more and more BetMGM showing up there than what I thought I would see at the beginning of the season, that's for sure. But that's not it. You're getting $1,500 in bonus bets when you check it out, up to $1,500, depending on how much you're comfortable at with that first wager. Then also 2 months of OddsShopper tools plus Discord access. That's a ridiculous deal. Now, there's a minimum of $10 you have to deposit. You can deposit anything you want to your heart's desires above that. But when you do so, 2 months of OddsShopper tools plus Discord access just by checking out this offer at the video description box below. It's only if you're 21 and over. And if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Back to the picks we go. One more game. Let's ride. Now to producer Jacob's favorite spot on the board for the Boston Celtics all season long. And let me tell you, one thing I will say about producer Jacob, other than, he is fine, cultured individual when it comes to the cinema. We share a likening to certain things. It's beautiful. Now I don't know why I'm doing the Tommy DeVito thing all the time. I was just thinking The Godfather. I was like, hey, you really enjoy this movie? Yeah. I have asthma now. We're talking a little bit. He is a huge Boston Celtics fan. He knows his team, and he knows the game of ball. And, well, Boston 5.5. I will say alarm bells went off in my head when I saw this number at first, but I think what you're seeing is Chris Paul playing some pretty decent basketball and Klay Thompson starting to come along for the ride. One thing that happened without Draymond Green out on the floor, yeah, you're losing some defensive efficiency, but you're adding a guy who can at least shoot the ball when he does, even though Chris Paul hasn't been shooting the ball a hell of a lot lately. Let me double check that fact, because I'm pretty sure I saw, yes, 2 for 7, 1 for 4, 4 for 9, 5 for 8, 1 for 4, 1 for 2, 2 for 6, 1 for 2, 4 for 7, 4 for 9. Yes, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 games all season long. He's had double-digit shot attempts. He hasn't had double-digit shot attempts in a game since November 16th. He's out there creating, and you know who he's been creating for lately? Klay Thompson, who's starting to wake the hell up. 32, 36, 29 minutes here in the last few. 30, 24, 28. I'm not going to say Klay Thompson's back, but since he got benched, since he got kicked in the arse by Mr. Steve Kerr saying, yo, you got to be better. And, you know, then they really took it out on Andrew Wiggins as they should. He's been horrendous. Klay Thompson has answered the bell here the last few. And part of that, again, I think it's just having Chris Paul, who you can't necessarily do some of the same things you were able to do against a Draymond Green on defense. Get sagged back. You knew that it was going to be a lot of pass first towards Klay, towards Steph Curry. And now Chris Paul doing a pretty good job with this offense. Him, Poshimski has been playing good minutes for this team now in that starting unit, playing 35, 32, 33 a night here. The guard has certainly changed. They like that rookie a little bit. He's all right, but you know who's really all right? The Boston Celtics, first in adjusted net. Rainey going for dunks and threes, continuing to be an analytical darling, as they should. The big question mark for me about the 5.5 and why I don't want to be jamming it here, producer Jacob, even though I do kind of agree that it just looks like a wonky number, is you got to wait on a huge piece. Kristaps Porzingis, if you have him active for this game, I think this number moves to 6.5 pretty quickly. I think his shooting is worth a point and a half to the spread in some direction. You do have Drew, who's going to be out there just playing cornerback against Steph Curry. That's going to always be enjoyable to watch. But for the most part, Boston, they're the better basketball team. They have the better wings. They have a lot of rookies that Golden State is enacting into duty. Some young players, whether it's Looney, Kuminga, Saric, older, but, you know, knee's been reconstructed multiple times. Lots of things here, friends, where I think there's a wide range. Does Steph Curry go out and shoot 60% from three? Does frickin' Klay Thompson shoot 50% from three? I know these are like outlier type things I'm talking about. Not really outliers for them in a one-game sample size, but what I'm getting at is that 5.5 is something I'm worthy of just like firing a half unit on. I don't agree. I think Boston should be favored by more. If you have Porzingis out, you're not dead in the water by any means, but I don't know. I'd prefer to have the 7-3 guy who shoots threes out on the floor against Kevon Looney to pull him off the floor himself. And that does it for another edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. You know what to do. Go to that comment section below. Let me know your favorite plays here for Tuesday. 4 games, lots of news, lots of things that we're going to be paying attention to. Excited to see the return of Ja Morant. Excited to be betting in that premium Discord alongside all of you. Again, BetMGM, you check them out. 2 months of Odd Shopper Discord access. Plus, well, we slashed the prices across the board as is. So $15 to get in for the week. You want to hang out for Christmas? I'll be in there all Christmas, even Christmas Day, avoiding spending time apart from my family that I love and can't wait to see back in South Dakota from my childhood room while I record these videos. My life is weird. Thank you, producer Jacob. We'll get the heck up out of here. Until next time, friends, I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the NBA streets on Tuesday.